The biggest thing that we see with wholesalers and in having difficulties moving deals is that they're not locking it up at a deal at all. So what's the best way that they can actually get into a contract that makes sense?
Hey, what's up, guys? We are here with you, Taylor and Zach. This is new for us, so we're doing the podcast thing to kind of come out and introduce what we do, how it works. Try to do that in plain English so that people can kind of know a little bit more of what it is without all the questions and underlying concerns they probably have, and see if we can just provide value to you guys. And we'll be doing this consistently as we go on. We'll kind of decide, what makes sense for us and how we'll do that. So we just wanted to kind of get on here and share our story, really. And so I'm Zach Martin, born and raised in Alpena, Michigan, moved to Midland, met Lauren, my wife, to the right of me here. And, always was interested in making money, always was interested in entrepreneurship, and ended up falling into the insurance world for a little while, like 4.5 years. And that's where I met my buddy here, Taylor. So we kind of met in the insurance business, and through our love of sales, entrepreneurship, just growing every single year and always getting better, really, really made a good team. So Taylor, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get started, man.
Taylor Cobb, and we met, I don't know, several years ago back in the insurance business, and that was interesting to, it seems like we've known each other for a lifetime, but it's just been, a handful of years here, and, we were able to meet and collaborate very well in the insurance business. And when we saw all these people that we were writing insurance policies for making all this money with real estate, that kind of clicked for us. So I know that was a bigger thing that you had. So if you want to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I was meeting with investors. I was meeting with people that were in real estate. They were real estate brokers, or they were, financial advisors, or whatever the case is. But I met with this guy in Saginaw, and he's our age, and he's telling me he's on his 100th rental, and kind of how his process was of doing that, and how he, intends to grow that. And I was just baffled. I couldn't believe it. And, I just remember sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm going to get paid $200 to write this guy's insurance. Yeah. If I get it, if the rate's competitive, if it works for him. This guy's making thousands of dollars a month, and he seems to really enjoy it. He was a cool guy, down to earth. And so, I just remember bringing that to you. And it was like, hey, man, I think we're in the wrong vehicle. I think we need to discuss doing something different. And at the time, it was really, hey, let's get into buying assets and doing what this guy does. Little did I know exactly how he did it at the time, and how he was, scaling that. And you were like, dude, let's do it. You were like right on board. It was like crazy how quick you said yes to that.
Yep. A month later, we had our first rental, and then we ran out of
we ran out of capital, like anyone would if they're 25 years old and doing okay, but not to the point where you can consistently put thousands of dollars down on a rental property that's going to net you $300 a month if you do it right. If nothing goes wrong, right? That's if the water heater doesn't blow and some of those things. And I wanted to go into, guys, like why are we even like sitting here doing this, and our wives are on social media and they're blowing us up, and we're all over the place all of a sudden. So number one, we weren't able to share our story when we were working W-2 jobs. It was not going to make sense.
It looks like we just started this thing, like yesterday.
Right. This has been going on 2 years. Yeah. This is not a brand new venture for us. And so why we share our story, why this is so important, why we're doing what we're doing, is not to sell you something. I don't have anything to sell you. I can promise you of that. In fact, all I want to actually do is come out on this platform or any platform and build a brand around trust, credibility, professionalism, treating people right, doing it the right way. And more importantly, draw in other people who are doing this, other investors, people who are doing some wholesaling, real estate agents that are investor friendly, lenders, title companies, you name it. I want them to see who we are, what we do, and be able to, think, I want to reach out to this person and work with them. That's the main thing. I mean, would you say that's at the end of the day what we're trying to do?
Just collaborate. The way that we do our business is everybody wins. Everybody from the seller to the other wholesalers to the agent to the buyer to the end buyer, after the flip, everybody wins. And so we're not doing any sort of business where we benefit and somebody else doesn't, right? So, and that includes our content. That includes everything.
No one's being taken advantage of. There's nothing predatory about what we do. Right? If there's a problem to solve that we can offer a solution for, and we're talking about buying houses now, guys, so we'll offer a solution. And if it makes sense, we'll help the person. We'll do it in the most professional way possible, and that's kind of a good transition to like why we do what we do and who we are, kind of how we got started. But more importantly, that topic you said about how we ran out of capital, right? That's a big problem. Most people would look at that and say, well, I guess I'm going to have to just earn more money and it's going to take way longer to get to where I want to be. I would recommend not using traditional buy and hold rental investing as a way to replace your income. That's a passive income strategy, and it's going to take some time.
Yeah, because when we sat down in my kitchen after our first rental, and we had a notepad and a pen, and we said, okay, so if we save up X amount of dollars from our W-2 jobs, and we use this, and we put our 20% down, and then we do the math, and we look up, and we're like, we're gonna be 30 years from now, maybe we'll be set if everything goes right. It's like,
and that's not gonna be encouraging to people. That's sad. That's not fun. That's not what it's about. So what we needed to learn how to do is how to build active income, something that it's a real estate investing strategy that can get you bigger chunks of money up front so that you can continuously buy, quit your jobs on it, right, and grow your business. And so for us, I mean, I think you actually came across it was Pace Morby. Everyone knows who the guy is in the real estate space. Incredible. Yep. And he was just give. And
talking
I think
about,
you came across,
he's because I mean Pace Morby now everyone knows he's buying like crazy, but he started out saying wholesale your first few at least, learn the business, and we're like wholesale, what's this wholesale, and it's like, well, you're selling, you're getting a property under contract with a purchase agreement, and you're selling your interests to buy that property to an investor who the numbers work for. And so, and that the difference between the purchase price that you got and the assignment is your wholesale fee. Right. And these wholesale fees you're seeing are, $5,000 to $50,000. The sky's the limit on it, just depending on the deal and the spread and everything. Right. And we're seeing this, and we're like, what we got to look into this, because it's a lot more than $200 for an insurance policy.
It was baffling. I was like, no way, right? So what we start doing is we go on YouTube University, right? Because we didn't have any money to, get into a mentorship, or probably didn't even have enough confidence and belief in ourselves to get that far. And we tried learning just some basics of it. And basically what it came down to was skip tracing, pulling names. And you and I are leaving at lunchtime from our job to make calls in the car, try and generate leads, and get deals done. And so that was incredibly tough. It takes a lot of phone calls to do it that way. It's tough when you don't really know exactly what a deal is or what to do with that deal or how to write it up and all the things that you need to know. So for us, like not having the knowledge on what a fix and flip deal was or what a good buy and hold deal needs to look like if you're not buying it already fixed up with a loan. You're not going to sell to those people anyways. And then who these go to, right? Like, I mean, what is a buyer for these? How do you contact them? What's the paperwork look like? And then who does this transaction? It's crazy.
So we're doing the traditional wholesale method, which is sitting in the car calling people who don't want your phone call.
No.
They don't even know they don't know you, and they don't know why you're calling saying, "Hey, are you open to selling your house?" And even the ones that, when they did say, "Well, I'd consider it, what's your offer?" And then we're like looking at each other like, I don't even know.
Right. And
we don't know.
They're lacking motivation, right? They want top dollar for it, which doesn't really make sense. We're trying to trade these houses at wholesale value, which again, we didn't know what any of that stuff meant. So that was a struggle, and that didn't work very well for us. We didn't get any deals that way.
Nope.
And so after some time, we took a break from everything, really. Ended up buying our Airbnb house, which was like, we really can scale this and do well. But the same problem's going to come up. We're running out of capital. We can't keep doing it like this without, the money to do that. So we just kind of looked back at it again. I remember coming across Jamil Damji on YouTube, some of his challenges. He was, going into how to do wholesaling in a smarter way. And it was based off of building relationships with other professionals and how to build it off of referrals, not a hamster wheel of cold calling, getting a lead after 200 calls, transitioning the lead, then you get paid and you got to start over, right? Instead of building a scalable business, which is what we want to do. That was one of the easiest decisions ever to join that dude. Like after going through his stuff and watching his material and all the stuff he just gave for free. By the time the guy called me, I was like, here's my card. I was good to go.
And that in a way built the rest of how we run our business, because we went and sought after education from somebody who is unarguably the best wholesaler in the world.
Right.
And he was able to teach us how to do it. And it was, we've quit our jobs and, been able to do this full time and build a really solid business based off of that.
And we have to remember, like, the problem with a lot of the trainings out there is that it's centered around lead generation. It's centered around how to call and get an opportunity. Here's what we're missing. We're missing what an opportunity really looks like, how to value the opportunity, how to get that to someone that's going to want that in a way that they kind of breaks down quickly for them to make a decision or go see it, right? All those things that, kind of lead to closing and converting a lot more opportunities is that side of it. It's not taught, not really. I mean, it's touched on a little bit, but 80% of the trainings are how to get a lead. And then what do you do now, though? So that's why in our industry, there's a lot of cancellations. We have a high cancellation rate. It puts a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yep.
It's not good. And it's, definitely going to be a problem if people don't continuously learn and get some sort of education in this space. Because there's no barrier in a lot of states. It's the issue.
Yep.
And so astro flipping was good for that. And then, more importantly, there's a community of over, I don't know what it is, like 4,500 people, something crazy. And they all want to help you. And they're so giving. And if you have a problem, they've probably come across the same thing, right? And so having that too, on top of learning all this stuff and applying it, made a significant difference. I mean, for us, that was huge.
Learning to not just lean on yourselves, but to lean on others and to call people. I mean, we've reached out to so many people over the past several months to help us through this one thing, or and we've helped a lot of people too. We've had a lot of people reach out to us, and we've gone through it. So if you're doing something that's been around a long time, chances are someone's gone through it.
Yeah, someone's done it. And that's the thing, like with what we went in and we did the right thing, right? We knew the direct to seller model. It's not like there's no deals to be had. It's not like it's not it's not anything other than the fact that it's tough. Okay. And so we decided to go get educated and do it a little bit differently. Most people don't do it this way. It's understandable. It's not really taught, by many people. And it changed a lot for us. I mean, we were doing, now we're averaging 5 to 7 deals a month. Some months that's higher, right? Yep. And it's because of opportunities that we get off referrals mostly. People that know what we do, that we can help them. If we're joint venturing, if we're, just getting the contract and quickly moving it, not wasting anyone's time, right? And we'll tell them a number that works and we'll explain it very well.
Yep.
That's where our business really took off, from not knowing what to do to like consistently doing it, because we knew the sales aspect. We knew how to communicate. That wasn't the problem.
Well, how many times are we sitting, not that you can only get away with doing this, but how many times are we sitting on a couch or on the weekend and you have somebody text you a deal?
Yeah.
When you're doing direct to seller, you don't.
No.
Nobody's calling you.
No.
If you're not making those phone calls, you're not getting a deal.
Or you're paying for it on pay-per-click and direct mail and some of these things that are extremely expensive. I mean, it's a costly way to do it. And we're not here to bash on anyone that does that, by the way. We're just stating our concerns with it and what we came across.
What works for us.
And kind of what worked really well for us, kind of based off our personalities and what we wanted to do. And that's, again, like this is all kind of just a progression of our story, and, especially in the first episode of this, where we're just kind of explaining how we got there. But the bigger thing is, why decide to wholesale? I mean, we went into the idea that it costs a lot of money to continually invest. There's other ways to go about using other people's money and all that stuff. But what you really need is at least an understanding and some cash built up. And the understanding portion is wholesaling, right? The connection portion is the wholesaling. The cash buildup is the wholesaling, right? Yep. So it just was a great way for us to scale.
Wholesaling is the number one way, in my opinion, and because to get into real estate, because not only are you getting paid to do a deal right away, right now, you do a deal and it closes today, you're paid today, number one. Number two, you can't understand real estate at a high level without actually getting into it. So if you want to go and buy a flip and try that out on your first try, you're going to lose some money probably, right? Versus if we're doing this and we're selling 5 to 7 deals a month and we know what a deal looks like and we know what to look out for, now when we get into flipping, we know. It's not guessing anymore because we've done it.
Right. And like you said there, like you're going to probably lose money if you start doing this without the training aspect of it, right? So it gives you the connections to, because if you're moving deals consistently, what does that tell you, right? It tells you that the numbers made sense. You were able to estimate the rehab costs on a real level. You can kind of foresee what they're going to pay in private money or hard money, because a lot of people think it's cash. It is cash, and there's people that do pay with all their own cash. But a lot of times they're using a hard money lender. They're using a private money lender. They're using a partner that's funding half and wants half of the upside, right? So you got to understand maybe what they're paying on that stuff to really see where they're coming from, right? And so that's the big thing. It's going to give you the knowledge and the know-how, but it's going to give you the cash that you need to keep buying assets, depreciate, get the tax advantages of real estate. There's so many of them.
Yeah, and we see it every day with other wholesalers, and we had been those wholesalers where how many times do we get a deal from a new wholesaler and it's not a deal? And it's like
90% of the time.
If you would have bought that and put the money into it, you would lose money. I mean, it's not a deal. You're not even thinking about XYZ, right?
Right.
And so why not learn through something like wholesaling where there's virtually zero risk if you do it right, and only reward if you, if you get educated and meet the right people.
You might lose an earnest money deposit. You might get someone upset at you. But if you deserved it, then you deserved it, right?
Right.
But what you have to remember is, if you go into this with the idea that, hey, I get where they're coming from, I can speak their language, I can actually foresee some of the costs that they're going to have, I can see what the costs on the back end when they sell this is going to be, I know what they need to probably make on their money to take the risk at all, especially depending on how long of a project we're looking at. And then you jump in and do that. And what we did, which was really smart, is we connected with a big flipper and said, hey, can you show me what you're doing? Like, and he was so open to it. I think there's a lot of people out there that would just be super open to that, that you'd take an interest in what they do, and they would show you. They would give you a hand. They would give you insight into what they do on a day-to-day operation, how it looks like, all the things that go into it. And then you're ready. You're ready to come in and do that, whether it's with them or with a partner that has all the funding and you're going to manage the project, whatever it is for you that makes sense, you're ready to flip. And like you said, it's this progression. It's wholesaling. I think it's fix and flip is just a natural progression. A smart way to do it is to take the proceeds on the fix and flips and roll them into an asset. It's a huge tax advantage for you. You're going to get the passive income side of it. And then, it's a wealth generation thing too. It's going to appreciate over time if you're in an appreciating market. There's a lot of advantages to it. And then eventually you buy multifamily. And when you have so much money sitting around, why don't you lend some of it out, right? Because you know what you're looking for, because you moved up. It doesn't mean you wholesale, you jump in, you never wholesale again, right? It doesn't mean that once you can do all of those things, but you're a true, well-rounded investor because you started with the first step, which was really learning this business.
Look at some of these, Pace, Morby, Jamil, Jerry Norton, they all still wholesale, they still flip, and they still buy and hold properties. They're doing it, just depends on the deal, so they're not like,
they're investors.
I'm over that now.
Wholesaling's an exit strategy. Let's not sugarcoat it. If you look at a contract that states, a lot of them will state that this investor is in the business of either buying, fix and flipping, or wholesaling this contract, which I will determine in the inspection period based on the risk level, right? Rather than me canceling out because I found something I didn't like. Right now, I'm not super comfortable. Maybe I need to work with a financial partner. I can assign this to them and we can do it. But for their liability reasons, they're going to need it in their name. Come across that, right? There's a lot of reasons why, like an assignment in general, is going to be needed, other than trying to make a fee or some of these other things. But it's an exit strategy is all it is. And, we were talking a little bit about, how we kind of do things differently through a scalable business. And you mentioned it too, where we work with other people. And, I think what people really need to understand, this kind of goes back to the why are we doing this amount of marketing and we're branding ourselves and we're constantly putting out stuff. We want to collaborate with the competition, not against, right? And again, that's not us coming into this business and saying, hey, we just want to tell you why we're better than you and why we can do things. It's, hey, there's a lot of ways we can work together, and you can probably explain better than I can all the ways that we can work together, but there's tons of them.
We talk to a lot of just wholesalers in general. They'll say, well, is the market saturated? Are there too many? And I'm thinking, I hope so. Yeah. I hope there's a lot of them because we can work with every single one of them. So we work with other wholesalers by helping them move their deals. We work with flippers by getting them deals or buy and hold investors.
Understanding their numbers as well as they do. And when we talk with people, telling them why we need the number, where we need the number.
On a
it's
weekly,
not a guess.
Yeah. On a weekly basis, we get investors calling us saying, hey, what do you have, right? Yeah. So there's that. We've got lenders that want to work with us. They want to work with us personally. They want to work with our flippers. They want to get known by them. We're meeting with them. Real estate agents, maybe they've got a house that needs a lot of work.
It's distress. It's not financeable.
And they don't want to put it to the market. Well, how much value would that bring their client to have a cash offer that can close within 14 days and get it off their plate,
and walk away. Otherwise, like as a real estate agent, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your client. I get that. But you also have the responsibility of putting every option in front of them, whether it's realistic or not, right? So you can tell them, hey, I have a cash offer here for this. You don't have to make any repairs. You don't need to have people go through the house. We don't need to drag this out. We can close quick.
No
and it's
financing
cash. There's
contingencies.
There's no appraisals.
Inspections.
There's none of the things that can make you worried that the deal's going to fall through halfway through the process. And then they need to put in front of them like other options, right? We can put this to market, but you're going to have to make some repairs to get this in the neighborhood. That's what a realistic agent's going to have to tell them, right? Or yeah, you can do all the repairs and you'll get the full retail value, or this is going to sit if you want that much. It's not going to trade for that. That's a conversation that a lot of times we see when we look at a property that's listed, 60 days and the price hasn't changed. Why not? Right? Was it a realistic expectation? Was it the seller not being realistic? Right? There's something there. Maybe they've got a mortgage in place. They can't sell it for less. There's all kinds of things where there's just, we come in and we offer a solution to that problem. That's all we're doing. So we work with real estate agents to do that on a high level. Yeah. And we're very clear about our intention too, by the way. We're not trying to go around anyone's back or do anything weird.
Yep. And that, as a wholesaler especially, we're solving a lot of problems for all of these different people, but yet wholesaling seems to get this bad reputation. I mean, why do you think that is? What are some of the reasons that?
And here's the thing, I can go on this topic for an hour and I get red in the face and I get, I get really hot on this one because as long as I've been doing this, a lot of my bad experiences, and I'm just going off of what I know, okay, have been with other wholesalers. Let me tell you why, right? What is the point of someone grabbing a real estate contract and moving it? It's to solve someone's problem, right? And help them. Well, when you're sending me something that not only do you not have under contract, but you're selling for an astronomical amount to a seller that doesn't even know that you're doing that, we're breaking some laws. We're doing some unethical practices there, and that's going to be not good, right? Well, then we're hiding things from other people. We're not sharing all the details of the house. You know there's a foundation crack, and you're purposely covering it up. And now we're going to hurt. The seller's going to lose the contract. If someone goes in and looks at it, they're going to lose that contract. They're going to have to come in knowing that and cut down on the price, knowing that they locked it up too high. The other problem, especially like when you look at with real estate agents in general, that's a lot of what we get things through. They don't want you locking this up, wasting an entire 7-day inspection period, and then you didn't deposit earnest money. You had no intention of doing that. This is not even a valid contract at this point. You're coming in and asking for a huge price reduction, and you knew you probably had to start with. And it looks bad on them because now they have to go back and they have to tell the seller, I am sorry, he wasted all of our time, he or she.
Or even worse, right? You're saying, hey, you're locking something up and you're saying, well, but I need it vacant at close. And then now this person's been moving out of their house for the past 2 weeks. And then come to find out you couldn't close it anyway. And they didn't sell their house even though they thought they did, right? How many, I mean, there's horror stories that.
They're moving out of state, right? Or they bought another house and they put a non-refundable deposit on the house because they're confident they're going to move. And you wasted their time because you didn't actually have, this is another thing that just drives me crazy. There's a huge lack of education in this space. And this isn't to like rat on all wholesalers. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just stating that there's a problem when we're getting a lot of complaints that people are wasting time, being unethical, placing interests on a house immediately when there's no need to do that and not removing it. That's not cool. That's not ethical. We don't do that. Right. And so there's people that are trying to move out and you're wasting their time and they're constantly, what does that do in a market? It says, hey, I may have a buyer for this and I'd like to probably assign it. I just wanted to talk with you. They're immediately shut down. They don't necessarily want to talk with you. If they haven't had a bad experience, someone in their office has, and they don't really like it.
Right.
So it just puts them on guard because they've had bad experiences where those things I'm talking about have happened or worse, right? And it hurts their reputation when they do things wrong,
Yep.
right?
So as a whole, wholesaling is a great thing, and we
Yes.
provide an unbelievable value to the market when educated and when doing it the right way, when knowing that I can get this done, and if I can't get it done, I'm being honest with everybody along the way, right? So
Here's what I'm seeing.
Yep.
Here's what's going on,
Yep.
right? And we, as real estate wholesalers, need to be as professional as anyone else that's in this business.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot give you that offer because the roof is in bad shape, right? It's going to cost 10 grand, right? There's a foundation crack in the basement that's likely $10,000 to fix, right? There's all kinds of reasons why we have to go into it. And an investor has to take risk based on how much they're going to earn, right? And they have to make a percentage of that for not just for themselves, but for anyone to lend on it. They have to make a percentage that is worth the risk to anyone. It's just an industry-wide thing. And so, yeah, what we do overall should be, and this will eventually happen. I can see this happening in a lot of different areas, but I think it'll become more well-respected when regulation comes in,
Yep.
when people are held a little bit more accountable
Yep.
for their actions, when you're not allowed to, kind of sneak around and do certain things, especially if we're held to the standard of having some sort of licensing or regulation there, right? That's going to cut a lot of people out. The barrier of entry just became, okay, the serious people who want to do this at a high level and have dues to pay at the end of the year, they're going to stay.
Right.
And everyone else is not staying. They're done.
And by the way, I think that naturally that kind of happens in the market. Regulation is definitely going to help, but people who are out there doing bad business, they naturally are going to fade away. They're not going to be. They're going to become known as the guy that can't do it, and that you don't work with. So, and that's where joining that community that we've been in and astro flipping and learning and getting educated is, people look
Crucial.
at us as like a somebody they can go to and that can get it done. And if we're not, we can get you to the right person.
Right. Yeah. It's just about kind of flipping around the stigma of it's a bad, there's people are taking equity from people. They're doing all these things. No, that's really not what we do. But unfortunately, I can see where you're getting that information from and that people do that. It just happens. Unfortunately, it's out there. But moving on to kind of like who we work with. Also, it's like understanding the details of like what a deal is and who's all involved. So when we get into, let's say we get an opportunity somewhere, right? And we speak with the real estate agent in this case, and we come to terms on an offer price, right? Who's all going to be involved in that transaction where it's like, okay, from start to finish, who's all affected by that? Because there's definitely a lot of people that we interact with on just one deal. I mean, if I would say number one, it's the real estate agent and the seller, right? The seller, the person that's actually has some motivation to part with the property for whatever that is. Then we're going to open title, right? Title company is
So we're
going
working
to
with
have
the
the
title
ability to work with us at an investment level. Because if there's private money lenders, hard money, if there's a little bit more complexity with it, assignments, some of those things, we need a title company that is comfortable doing that and does that regularly so that there's no hiccups along the way and we're holding up a closing. But then more importantly, if you're going to wholesale this contract, you need to have buyers or a dispo wholesaler that can help you, right? So if you're newer, probably connect with a dispo wholesaler just before you lock it up. If you're not certain on your numbers, make sure we can all come to terms on what's going to work. So that way you're not wasting anyone's time. But if you have your own buyers that you connect with, break it down and send it to them. Get them in there. Let them see it. Let them go through. Let them make a decision on, is this going to make sense for me or not? And then if they're good, all you're going to do is send them an assignment contract, or you're going to double close if you need to double close. And, from there, really, you just took an entire transaction of all these people involved, What about private money, right? If the buyer likely uses private or hard money to fund these transactions, and now they're paying taxes on the property right up front. Maybe they're helping paying back taxes for the seller, and all the closing costs and things. And you close this, and who's next? They're guys.
Yep.
People that work on this stuff, the contractors, the subcontractors, the people that do specialized countertops, whatever it is, really, they're all staying busy because this person, us, brought an opportunity, assigned it, to this buyer, and now these people are updating it. And on the back end, it's the end buyer, right? A beautifully remodeled house, especially with interest rates where they're at right now, ready to go from a fix and flipper who took something in disrepair and made it nice in a short amount of time. And, who else is winning on that? Unfortunately, the banks, right? They win on everything, don't they? And so the banks are winning. Everyone is getting some of this. So is what we do on a large scale a bad thing? Heck no. It boosts the economy. It helps. It adds a tremendous amount of value to these buyers. They need it. They have to keep moving to provide for their families and keep their guys busy. And we've seen that. And people are taking tight deals. They need to just keep their guys busy.
Yep.
So that's sure. How many people get involved in just one deal, and it can get way more complex than that.
Oh yeah.
That's just one regular likely deal.
Yes. Yeah, that will happen for sure on every deal. And then there might be more on top of that. So the biggest thing that we see with wholesalers and having difficulties moving deals is that they're not locking it up at a deal at all. So what's the best way that they can actually get into a contract that makes sense, right?
Well, understanding, number one, what is a comp, right? Your ability to understand and tell people the future value of a property based on the data that you have is your most important skill set when you start out. It is. It's more important than generating. There's plenty of leads. Let me just say that right now. There is no shortage of leads. There's no shortage. There's plenty of them out there. Everyone teaches how to get them. What's important is when you get that lead, understanding what you can do with that at a high level is what. Now, you want to make sure that you understand what a comp is, like what I said there, right? Jamil Damji in his program teaches the appraisal rules. It's across all major states, what these appraisers use to value a property when they come in for a bank or whatever institution makes them appraise it. These are rules that they follow. And we memorize those rules, we apply those rules, and we use them.
Yep.
There's adjustments they make. There's square footage differences if we want to use the square footage formula. There's a difference in 1 to 2 story houses if it has a basement, no garage, right? If it's a brick colonial versus a 1-story ranch, right? There's differences, and you have to know what's able to be compared. Plus or minus any adjustments. If something sells at $200,000, for example, it's 200 square feet bigger, has a garage and we don't, and an extra bedroom. Yes, we potentially have a comp, but we also have to make adjustments on that comp.
Correct.
Otherwise, we're going to be way off on the appraised value, and whoever takes this is either going to buy something that's not going to work, or they're going to look at it and say, hey, that's not where this is going to resell. And what happens to the deal? Nothing. It sits there. You cancel it. You lose out. So,
understanding what a comp is at a high level and something that really at the end of the day, if you can make your set up a deal through the eyes of your buyer, right?
Yes.
Like what do they see as a comp? They're going to agree with you, right? So as long as you can understand, okay, this is similar year built, similar square footage, it's the same type build, right? Everything
same
is very
subdivision,
same size lot.
Not crossing any major highways
If
or roads.
we can compare all that and we can say, okay, so this is what it likely will sell for because this one sold last month for that, right? And it's
within
the same,
90 days.
right?
There's all kinds of.
And so you look at that and then you're like, okay, now how much work are they going to put into it, right? Now
Right.
you have to
How do you
understand their
determine
costs,
that?
right?
And on, like you're saying there, like you have to understand their costs, but you have to be able to, if you want to lock up contracts, if you want to lock up opportunities, you have to be able to explain that. When you're talking to another professional, do not just email, text them, or give them a number with no context. That's where you're going to get cussed out. It's where you're going to get people upset with you, right? You're going to lose any opportunity you had there. They're not very thrilled to hear anymore, right? You need to understand. I'd say one of the big ones is understand that on the back end of the sale, this flipper has cost.
Yep.
We don't just get, if there's 50 grand after rehab, he's not keeping 50. He's got to pay commissions. He's got to pay closing costs, right? He had to probably pay off his private money lenders included with that. So understand that there's back end costs. Tell them about that. Tell them about like what you were saying, like you have to understand the cost of the rehab. And there's a ton of ways to do that. If you ever have questions on it, we can help, but understand kind of what the rehab's going to cost for these people, right? And then there's private or hard money costs. If they've got, just tell them that that's one of your costs, because more than likely 80% of people out there are using it. Assume that they're using private or hard money. It's going to cost some money on that. And so if you can explain that, though, and tell them, and this, we can come to an agreement, this is probably going to retrade at X. I have to make, a percentage on this to take this risk. It's not worth it if I don't. The best I could do with the cash offer is this. Is it worth writing up? It's not you being a low baller. If it's super, super low, probably just explain to them it's going to be a lot less, and don't make an offer that's not going to make sense. Okay, that's how you can avoid that.
We do that all the time.
Yeah.
Right. We're if they're listed at after repair value, and we go in and we're like, hey, this is listed at what we could sell it for.
Right.
It's not going to work. Right. I'm not going to make an offer at this time. And then a lot of times what happens, right? The agent's like, what's the number, right? Give us something. That's when we can break that down and say, this is what I'm looking at, right? This is my cost. This is everything.
Well, that ties into motivation.
Right.
Right. And that's the thing. If someone does not need to sell their house and they're putting it out there to see what they can get, and they have it close to retail, definitely don't make that offer. Don't get yourself in that conversation. Ask them, what's going to happen if they don't sell this house? Do they need to sell? Yeah, he's got a job. He's moving. Great. Well, I'm going to have to go into what is, I'm going to have to go into. And that's where you can go into that conversation. Like, no, they're just putting it out there, and they'll just take it down. They won't take anything less. I'm not going to be your buyer. We can't make sense of it. I wish you the best. Now, can we work together on anything else that you see, right? You can transition that.
Yep.
And so we'll kind of wrap this up. And the biggest way we like to wrap this up, whether we're meeting someone in person, we're meeting someone at an event, or we're sitting down for coffee, whatever it is, or we're doing anything like this, it's kind of just going into why we do what we do and how you can connect with us. And our why is for our families, right? This is a family business where we want to give them more than we ever had, right? We want to be able to travel, have the time freedom, and be able to bless others, that need help, or whether that's with our time, our understanding of things, or financially in any way. And so wholesaling is just a very crucial and important part of our journey. And we're passionate about helping anyone getting into real estate. So Taylor, tell them how they can connect with us in the best way to do that.
So if whether you're thinking about, well, maybe this is something that's interesting and I'd like to know more about that, to somebody who's been doing it for years, in any way, if you're wholesaling, if you're flipping, if you're buying properties, if you're a real estate agent, a lender, if you're in real estate, we want to meet you. We want to work together because we can work together. Yeah,
there's always an opportunity. I'd say a lot of people out there who are kind of second guessing themselves, especially, and they look at guys like us and they say, man, they've got it. I don't have it. I don't believe that.
No.
I think everyone is capable of doing incredible things, and it takes courage. It takes, getting up every single day and facing it and just reaching out. So it takes the courage aspect, but it also takes getting around the right people.
Yep, getting help.
And we want to be some people in this space to just say, hey, we want to help. And we can help. And whether that's directly or indirectly, where we refer you to someone that can, or maybe just answer some questions. Again, that's all this is about for us.
So wherever this is posted, we'll have our contact information.
Yep.
Anybody can reach out anytime that we can, connect
Absolutely.
and help with you. If you have a deal that you want us to look at, if you just want to chat, if you want to talk about how we can work together, we love talking about real estate. So
Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
And like we said, we'll keep consistently bringing value, because we know what that's done for us. We know what that's done for a lot of people that we've worked with in the past. And so we just want to keep bringing value over and over again. So good work, man.
okay, sounds good,
Crushed it,
man.
bro.
Let's go.